Welcome to 5 Days of Defiance. If anyone is watching this who is from the group, I did set up an event. Could you also please go back into the 5 Days of Defiance group and just remind people that I'm doing it on my public page? I did just try and go live in the group, but the desktop Facebook platform seemed to glitch out and it actually blocked my own video from going live into my own group. But it's fine. I actually had intended to come here live on my public page anyway, because I think that's a nicer way to pick up some spontaneous views, make it most accessible to the most number of people, because that's the intention, is that these are 5 days as a free offering. I'm calling 5 Days of Defiance. And the idea is for me to walk you through some practices which has benefited me. Thanks for tuning in. Hi Athena, I see you watching. And the reason for wanting to gift this is that I've been really busy the last few months working flat out on some crypto projects and really passionate about the decentralized finance space. I do think it is a key solution to what's happening in the world at the moment. But also I haven't been offering my open world space. And so I really felt I wanted to contribute something. There are so many different tragedies, so many different upheavals, so many different, whether naturally or man-made, impositions on us at the moment, which is really wearing us down, understandably. Obviously, there's been all the situation with the pandemic. Then recently, a lot of my friends were affected by the floods in the northern rivers in Australia. And then just after, there was a reprieve from all the lockdowns. Then, of course, the Russia-Ukraine situation has erupted and is filling our feeds. And I know there are also innumerable other events and tragedies which are maybe not making it onto our mainstream media news flashes, but I know that this sort of thing continues around the world ad nauseum. So the practices which I'm going to be sharing over the next 5 days are practices which I come back to time and time again, and which bolster me, which fill me with life, which allow me to connect into my body, which allow me to stay heart-centered, which allow me to activate my creativity, which allow me to find joy even in the hardship. They are aligned to a number of different practices which I've learned from throughout my life. I can always refer you to different things, but to be honest, there's no one book, one Bible, one practice, one modality, one technique I adhere to. I'm very much inspired by the likes of Bruce Lee, for example, with Jeet Kune Do, and it's the formless form. On my knuckles I have open form tattooed, which to me represents the idea of form follows function. So the techniques I use, my approach always aspires to be adaptable and responsive to what is at hand. Once again, Bruce Lee saying, be like water, my friend. How can we adapt and be fluid? And that is one of the key things in times of chaos, is to be someone that can actually fully strip away the armor, fully become exposed, allow our neural network and our physiology to mush up against life and allow this very responsive environment. If you look where I am now, there's trees, there's insects, probably there's bacteria on my skin, there's all manner of life sprouting up. There's these seed pods which are wanting to sprout, there's butterflies, and every bit of rubble and every bit of detritus or rubbish, there will be things starting to fester and eat it. If there's dead bodies, they will be turned into the compost to be the nourishing food for the next life cycle. There's so much life everywhere. And when we are too adherent or too orthodox, when we always look at some other particular practice as our answer, we are out of the moment. We're no longer in communication. We are referring to something and we're outsourcing our responsibility. So this is not to destabilize. This is not to say, drop everything you do. If you've got something that works for you, keep doing it. But I am a huge proponent for the intuitive, for the spontaneous, even the chaotic, in as much as the playful in the moment, which breaks beyond the rules and comes to life through what is true to you, subjectively. So I really hope that everything I share here today is interpreted, is taken on board. Hopefully, if nothing else, it's a remembering. I hope to inspire a remembering, a rekindling, a reignition of what you already know. We know this, but sometimes it's good to be a beacon for each other. And I am honored to step forward and beat this drum which is my own heart, which I keep beating for myself. But I am absolutely willing to beat that drum for my communities, whether that be here in New Zealand or my dear loved tribe in Australia, or the amazing people I've interacted with as I've traveled around the world. And as we have these technological networks, as we have this spiritual network, as we have these intentions and this empathy of what's happening to our kin, our species all around the world, we will go into apathy if we don't feel like we're reaching out. It's easy to become overwhelmed. And so when I pass this torch on to you today, if you just use it to heal yourself, it's enough. But then show up in your own way, in your own genius. There is a wheel of co-creation, meaning that there are many spokes to the wheel. There's many angles into the center. The nexus point, the middle, the axis, I think is a dream we all hold. To live on a planet of peace, to live with nature, to have community, to be creatively liberated, to be spiritually connected, to be sexually satiated, to be cognitively engaged and challenged, to, you know the story, we all hold it. We all hold it. And I think that is the utopia, that's the Eden, that's the heaven on earth, that's the common focal point. But how we access that, and what country or what community or what modality, that has a number of entry points. So I fully honor authentically, even if I don't personally understand your access point to truth or God or healing, I don't need to, because I'm wholeheartedly trying to just open my channel, like activating a single spoke towards the axis. And I'm confident through experience, through embodied, engaged actuality of my own path leading to this moment. That's why I'm so confident. I'm not at all confident that what I say here will relate to you, but I'm 100% confident that I wake up every day with a golden glow of what I'm doing, with a challenge that I relish and thrive in, with an unquenchable thirst for knowledge and truth seeking, an irrepressible, undeniable creative spark and joy, and an absolute ravenous ravishing of the Stoic practices of exposing myself to the elements, of doing social experiments, of going across countries without using money, of going in cold water, of play fighting, of creating silly, humorous sketches of characters which illuminate aspects of the collective psychology, which are, of course, part of me. All of this is real, yet all of this is play. And that is a fundamental aspect, is we don't have to be silly and goofy and light to be playful. Sometimes play is deep, it's rich, it's scary. For me, play means an interplay. It's a way we share and we learn and we expose, and it feels real. Because life is this chaotic play between all of the polarities of life and light and dark, and masculine and feminine, life and death, and all these kind of things. And it's a curiosity that keeps us leaning into that ever-changing diorama, the tapestry, the mandala of what's happening here and now. And only through being willing to surrender and die to our stable point, to let go of the life raft, can we actually keep up with the river. All right, cool. So that's my opening speech, my diatribe from the pulpit. But I also want today and this whole week to be practical. So let's drop in now with some embodiment. But I just really want that to be clear. Make this your own. I know we have definitely outgrown the age of the guru or the master, perhaps the coach. And decentralization is all about peer-to-peer learning. So consider me a peer. Chuck away what I'm not doing well. Be inspired by what I am doing well. And may the way in which I wield my mastery remind you of your own mastery and effortlessness with the power that you hold, perhaps in a totally different area. We don't need to be the same. We just need to ignite and excite the flame of our unique individuality, of our freak, of our weirdo. And for me, there's two parts to that. One is knowing that you are unique, that your particular perspective is needed desperately in order to make up to fill all the holes, to make up all of the gaps, the blind spots in our collective perspective. And having enough humility to know that it doesn't start and end with you. because that's when ego can get in the way. If I was to open up this video today and think, oh, Atlas has something really important to say, my ego would probably shrink and go, oh no, but what happens if I get it wrong? And all that noise would stop the clarity of the communication. And so, as well as knowing that I'm unique and all these lovely things that my mum and lovers have said to me, it's also having the humility to get out of your own way. And I say, be humble enough to be great. And that I serve something that I've witnessed in myself and others, which is the life force that moves these trees. Which is the fact that each person that comes to a workshop I do or a space that I hold comes with their own answer. And I've just got to say, what is that answer? And I've got to not blink when they're having their self-inquiry and being willing to state shift, being willing to be angry or bold or warrior or gentle and like a nurse. And that is my privilege, to be your sparring partner. And that is because I know that art is not mine, that spirit is not mine, that love and nature is not mine. And what a burden if it was. No wonder people get tongue-tied and get paralyzed and never offer anything, because it's too much of a responsibility. The fact is, it's been distributed across all of us. And that is where the reprieve comes from. So because I respect life, because I respect art, because I respect your own authentic, innate, sovereign connection with all these things of beauty, I come with unequivocal certainty that this is important. Not because I'm here, but because life is here. And I absolutely stand in the face of anything that tries to insulate from that life. Anything that tries to segregate us. And I know what segregation means firsthand, because I grew up in South Africa as a white boy in apartheid. So I was on the happy right side of the law, and I know how we can normalize things like that. I know how it can be normal for black people not be able to go into the pool that I'm swimming in, or the transport, or the room that I'm in. I know that that can feel normal. And also I know growing through that, and I remember seeing the posters of Nelson Mandela up in the electoral time, and then he came into power, and I've revisited that country again and again, and I've seen the way it shifts. And of course we now know the abhorrence of what we have inflicted on each other. So I can hold both. I can understand how normal it can seem, and I can also understand how obviously wrong it is to separate people like that. And what a good trick. So I'm also cynical of the mechanisms of control and governance. What a great trick to separate us from our elixirs, from the medicine of person-to-person connection, from our connection to nature, from making us fear the sun, making us fear the air that we breathe, making us have taboos and shame around these bodies that we literally live in and are our temple and our port of call and connection to this earthly realm. What a great trick to make us ashamed of sex and sacred union that opens up some of the deepest love you'll get to experience. What a wonderful trick to take medicines, to take cacao, to take tobacco, to take all of these things which are in nature and pollute them and distort them and give them back to us in an addictive form. Whether that be through cigarettes or coffee or, energy drinks or porn or whatever quick hits fake us out and make us think we gain access. They remind us, they re-stimulate, they stir up some kind of connection with something we innately love, and yet send us on a tangent. And that's why so many of these tools of liberation can also be used as tools of imprisonment. So it's up to you to know which is your true connection point to your medicines and what they are. But the ideas that I rally behind is openness, is yes, is connection, is cross-pollination, is expansion, is liberation, is lightness, is exposure. All of these things feel like life to me. And everything I say is just what is right to me. But these things I'm certain of. And whenever someone starts to have a furrowed brow and starts to warn me about life and starts to recommend I shrink or I protect myself from what I know as medicines, that I close myself in for my own betterment, I know that these words are not the gospel. They are not the sacred words. These are not the guidance I seek. I'm here to open the world. Open world theater. And I rally all of those who stand barefoot on the earth, as I do here today, and didn't need to be reminded or taught or given permission. And maybe we had guides that walked the way, or we saw someone who inspired us. But at some point, you've got to take the source, baby. At some point, you've got to plug into the belly button of the universe. At some time, you've got to suckle on the umbilical cord back to mama. And then you don't need anyone else to give you your sacred source or elixir in some bottle with a brand on it. You don't need to suckle on the mainstream media screens to tell you what's going on, because you get your live updates. I can feel the shapes of us in the earthquakes and the ways that we've made mistakes and the way that we break the porcelain shield of perfection. And all of these garish erections and nipples covered and concealed, trying to defy what I know is real, and this illusion, this intrusion on my own perspective and perception. We are now lepers, hanging around the markets, begging for these gilded coins, but it's fool's gold. But we don't need to be told this in more stories. So story work is another thing that I work with, because it's really important to understand the work of illusion and our addiction to our identity and the way that we cling to the community that we've been born into and are programmed in our culture, and how effective and mesmerized it is to hear things, whether it be from mummy and daddy or our teachers or whatever biblical scriptures pretend to be from the mouth of God, and how susceptible we are to being lulled into a dream time. So we're going to get onto the story work as well in the later days. So take this time now to sit with me. Thank you for the words here. Thank you for joining. One last call, if anyone is in the group, the 5 Days of Defiance group, please go in there and put a post saying it's actually on my public feed. And now we will begin. So I want you to take a time now, a moment, to look at the space that you are in right now. We are in a workshop, we are in a process together, we're in a ritual. Even though it's a one-way stream, I'm very cognizant of the fact that you are here live. I'm seeing the eyes in the live, and I know you are here with me. I know you are here. And this is not the only way we can connect through the screen. Back here, back of my head, back into sky, back into the 3D realm of these bodies, I know you are in a space too. So take time to take in your space. I invite you to be aware of your posture in this moment. Roll your spine, move your hips, open your throat, relax your shoulders, burp, fart, breathe, sneeze. Unravel any of the restriction, because what can happen after these times of attrition we've been worked at, we can build up a resistance through the armour to protect ourselves, but that can make your face go stiff. It can make your spine and your muscles clench. And I want to get that cerebrospinal fluid, that fluid in your bones moving. I want to get your heart pumping. I want to break this brittle mask so that you can be raw and you can come back to life and you can feel what's happening now. Because what's happening now is actually beautiful. We're having such a revivification. We're having such an illumination. It's very obvious what is happening. So I'm not going to go on and try and point out what's happening. I'm just going to ask you to feel. And the way we're going to ground into the real is through the space we're in right now. So having your body a bit supple, I'd like you to make sure you're actually connected with the ground. If you can, take off your shoes, and if you can get connection with the earth, that'll be amazing. If you're inside, that's totally cool, but at least energetically know that there is earth below you. And I'd like you to take 1 minute now just to explore the space you're in. This is your dojo, this is your temple, this is your church. The room that you're in, I'd like you to cast the significance, whether it be your bedroom or a public park, whatever it is, you are ordaining it with it being a sacred space right now for this ritual. You are choosing to call it your place of worship, of training, of transformation and change. So look with your eyes, soft. Take in the details you might have missed, and maybe take your hands and fingers and start to explore some of the textures. notice the details. We can't always be passionate and inspired, Elizabeth Gilbert said, but we can always have curiosity, and curiosity would lead you forward into inquiry. So just taking this time, and as you take this time to feel, I'd like you to be aware of the correlation between breath and movement and intention. Often in embodiment, we talk about breath, sound, and movement. So sure, if you want a sound, feel free to do that as well. But intention and breath and movement, for me, is the basis of martial arts. The basis of internal yoga. So once you've explored your space and you've adequately given it the significance and thanks for being a place of training today, I'd like you to come and settle down now with me at the screen. And we're just going to feel into our bodies now. So for me, knowing the fractal nature of the universe, meaning how things splay out in echoing patterns from the micro to the macro, it makes sense that each organ is like a whole universe unto itself, and the organ comprises the body. And then my body is an organ for something beyond myself, the space and community I'm a part of. And then that community is an organ for the bigger organism, and so it goes, and so it goes. And our planet is an organ in the solar system, etc. So you can see the evidence of the state of your body from the structure. Form follows function, as I said. What does that mean in the case of our physiology? It means that your posture, the form, followed the function, how you lived. And this is also looking at the idea of epigenetics, which means we have potentials innate in us, but it's our behavior and our psychology and various environmental factors which activate and roll out into actual structure or organ behavior or hormone distribution, etc., etc. So take this time now, hopefully with an open body, to bring your awareness to your hands, rubbing them together. And one of the things that I like to do when I rub my hands like this is start to feel the difference between activity and tension. Can you rub your hands really fast and keep a soft heart? Because often when we do this, we get really stressed. We tense up, and that's not allowing life to flow. So can you rub your hands really fast and be aware of your arms leading back to your heart and your chest, and keep a soft, open, calm breath? But rub your hands really fast. Sometimes this makes me actually feel sick. And I've just got to like soften and relax. It's like trying to carry a box or something heavy across a field. Sometimes it's like, how can I be soft and at the same time activated? So breathing down into your diaphragm, into your belly, softening your root. And now we're going to come to stillness with our hands about 1 centimeter apart and feel the electricity or the sensation we've activated through rubbing. And bring your awareness, where attention goes, energy flows. So look at your palms, feeling into the Lao Gung points, these center parts here. Like in comic books, you see people shooting life force out of there, or we've got the Illuminati eye here. Why is that? Well, there's a point of sensitivity and sensation here. And don't forget these hands here. I think of myself as a 6-pointed star. 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point, 5 point, and 6 point. 6-pointed star. If you think of it all like an interconnected network, these are like the electric terminals which connect us out. So with our attention on these two terminals, these points of contact and connectivity, conductivity, conducting your life force, bring your energy through your attention. The observer is such an important part of this. And slow down. I want you to get the sensation now of actually slowing down the rate at which time is proceeding. Because that too is a huge byproduct of the mind. The body is here and now, always. The mind, like an animation in cinema, is remembering the previous frame and anticipating the next frame and witnessing a continuity of motion through time. But that's an illusion. And so we can actually slow the perceived path through time. And how we do that, well, it's up to you. But I'd like you to bring your attention to the back of your head now, taking these hands which we've activated, bringing your love and attention and awareness to the back of your head as we were still slowing down time, feeling the grace of every moment. And I want you to imagine all of the energetic shards of charge. I want you to feel the pain. I want you to feel the zap. I want you to feel the defensiveness. I want you to feel the pictures which have flashed on your screen. I want you to hear the voices of warning. I want you to feel the shards of charge and electricity. And we're literally going to pull it off the back of our head in 5 seconds and let it float up and away like a cloud. And your hands are going to disperse like that as well. So using your imagination to lead the energy, yeah? Your mind can start to create a channel and hopefully the energy starts to follow that imagination. So in 5 seconds, we're going to bring our hands back like this. 4, 3, 2, 1, detach. Softening your face. Coming back to 0 point. And feeling this release at the back of your head, where the distraction and noise that was in the periphery of your awareness, you get a bit of space between it and you right now. So your attendance can be on what you can see. And how do we perceive that? We come to our face and we look out through these peepholes. So let's get our hands now and gently massage this face like you are wiping away the energetic mask of identity. Turn it back into clay. Massaging the jaw. Be willing to be unattractive. Be willing to be idiotic. Be willing to be not yourself, so you're not holding on to the precomposed and predefined. And get the idea through the breath. And if you can sound with me now, we can do maybe do a few ohms. And I want you to get the idea of softening, hello. I want you to get the idea of softening your nervous system. And the way that I come to these understandings is through my own experience, but then I do some research.
Away.
Hey, it's moving away.
Yeah, I'm moving.
I've got a friend who's joined me here. Where do you want to sit on the trunk?
No.
No? Okay. So I come to this through a subjective physiological, somatic, that's the word, somatic experience. And then I go and study other things and go, oh, that's what it's called. So apparently there's a thing called the vagus nerve at the back of your face. Cool. My experience of it is an awareness in the structure here where I feel more tension and blood. And then when I start to sound or breathe, splash cold water on it, I feel almost like all of that tension and life force can drain and be drunk down my neck into my torso. And that's what we want to have here. There's a universal stress release point as well. So this is a bit from kinesiology. You can take your hands and just gently place it on your forehead here. And just feel like you're detaching this mask and allow your face to go open and supple. And bring your hands gently down around your nose and mouth. And then bring it down to your décolletage, to your throat here. And I just want you to brush gently across your collarbones. And I want you to breathe now up into your heart. Now, when we breathe up into our heart, I don't want us to raise our shoulders because that puts us into fight, flight, or freeze, into a stressed self-defense process. But I want you to breathe openly with an open mouth. into your heart, and brush across your collarbones like this. And what we're doing in this moment is allowing ourselves to have a moment of respite, a sanctuary, an island of peace and safety in our own bodies, reminding ourselves through touch and through intention that we are actually safe, that all of the messages of how dangerous this world is and how much we have to wear armor to protect ourselves from each other can now be relinquished, even just in your own little bubble right here in this call, so you can actually allow the wisdom of the body to rebalance again, because it wants to harmonize. It's got all of the necessary procedures to get the toxins, put them out here, get a bit of that, put it over there. Like, it wants to bring wellness. If we just let it, if we stop being human-centric and mind-controlled, and instead coming down into a deep trust of the body. So bring your hands now down to your diaphragm. And I want you to rub here under your chest where the ribs come to your sternum. And I just want you to rub and start to really feel into the organs of your body. Start to feel this amazing friend that you have in this body, which has been metabolizing food and growing and healing and processing your emotions and like holding your dreams. It's an amazing dreamboat that we're in. And I want you to start to feel the intuitive inspection of what you're actually comprised of inside. When was the last time you really felt your organs? Is there pain here? I want you to push and feel under your ribs within your own tolerance. I want you to maybe rub between your ribs, maybe do a bit of a stretch. And I want you to start to feel some of the knots coming undone and maybe some of the tender bits. Where does this alimentary canal go to? We eat, we drink, we swallow, we breathe, and then what? You know, you feel it. You've been filling it with all kinds of things for years and years. Feeling down into your stomach. They say that there's a second brain at least. I think there's maybe about 4 brains in the body, but the second brain they talk about being your digestive tract. And I want you to feel, not with your mind, but with your body, down into where that leads. Where is your stomach? Is it to the left, to the right, in the middle? To me, it feels like it's a bit over to the left. And then I imagine the different sphincters, these little muscles which hold it together. The cardiac sphincter and the pyloric sphincter. So at the bottom, there's this little opening which can let out the good juices and all the stuff you've been digesting in your belly into the duodenum, and this part of your small intestine. And that's where a lot more of the metabolism takes place. I want you to feel it. Like I'm saying these biological words, but these come after the fact of feeling. Feel it to know. Love, feel your heart, feel this gratitude of nothing else for this body right now. How ridiculous and amazing that it holds together and it breathes and this heart doesn't stop beating, and somehow this brain assembles all the signals of sound and light and taste and touch and allows you to experience this universe in some coherent form, like so improbable. And at some stage it will stop. At some stage our consciousness will detach, and at that day we can't feel in. We can't feel from the inside. It becomes cardboard. It becomes like this log. These bodies are these tree stumps of this energetic life force tree that is reaching out towards the sun. And for this moment, you can inquire. And I want you to soften your belly, and I want you to have a conversation now with your stomach, with your digestion, and ask yourself, what does my body need? How does it feel about what I've been feeding it? What do you know about how you've been perhaps self-medicating? Maybe it's been healthy, amazing. Kudos, congratulations if so. Maybe it's been a lot of junk. And when we talk about insulation, you can imagine the microphyllae, the little hair-like structures that we need to absorb food through. What happens if they get clogged with intestinal plaque? You know, like plaque between your teeth? What happens if those little hair-like structures get clogged? How can they absorb your nutrients? Is there a grief? Is there a hunger, a thirst? Is there a desire for life force? Is it pleading for something? And allow that feeling. It might be joy, it might be sadness, it might be grief. There might be some responsibility you need to take. But just feel it and face it. Everything can be refreshed today. Do not burden yourself with the past decisions. The body has an amazing way of healing. So any habit can be changed here today. And it doesn't have to be done in one cold turkey flip switch. It can be done gradually. But as long as you tune in and have a conversation now. So imagine you're here or wherever you feel that your consciousness and cognizance is stemming from. And imagine sending down a telephone line to your stomach and say, hey, first of all, thank you. Second of all, how do you feel about what I've been feeding? And just have an intuitive conversation with how your diet should be steered going forward. Touching as well, soft, allowing these terminals, your hands, to send your love and presence. Just your awareness, just turning to face the experience is enough to shift things. Even if your mind doesn't come up with a solution or a clear answer, trust me, just your awareness and your intention will start to shift things. Now I want you to start to breathe down deep into your belly. Still awareness on your stomach, but allowing your belly to actually expand out with your inhale. So just to be clear, sometimes when we inhale, we breathe our stomach in, and that can bring stress. There's no right or wrong, just as long as we are aware of how we're breathing, we can play with it. But so for now, I'm saying on your breath in, the belly comes out. And the hands help us work out what we're doing. So on the inhale, do it really slowly. The belly expands. Being aware of your perineum as well, so that area of the body between the sex organs and the anus, can that also feel like it's expanding? And this is a very vulnerable sensation. It feels like you're being willing to be penetrated. It feels like all of the evil of the world can come into you. It feels like you've got to trust that the earth won't drop you. But allow your breath to open up that. And as that breath comes and expands into your belly, hopefully it starts to massage your stomach too. If you've got any water to hand, you might want to have some water to help wash things down. And now bring your hands in a round motion, coming up on the right, across and down to the left. And what we're doing is we're massaging the large intestine. Remember, it's intention, breath, and movement. This is the Tai Chi, or I call it Play Chi, of my particular practice. Now, we may be a little bit off to the side or down or up of where the actual organ is. But the point is, you're working with your body. The body knows. And so you're setting an intention. You're breathing down, you're bringing your sensation and awareness, and also you're assisting with motion. And this is how we find our forms. This is how these perhaps symbolic gestures of the martial arts actually can relate to real world change. They can be really quite grounded, some of these esoteric practices. They can be passed on through art, through dance, through music, through structure. But it's really the intention underlying it that is what's going to bring the medicine. So up on the right, across and down on the left, coming down, really moving that colon. Coming down, imagine it. Taking your hands now down to your perineum and just sit for a moment and feel in. Coming down also gently from the pubic bone, feeling the bladder point, coming down over the genitals, coming around, feeling your tailbone at the back. You know, the tailbone, that end of your spine, coming down towards the anus. Really allowing your awareness to sit. And if you have discomfort about your own body, it's okay. We have been trained to want to stay away from this, to cover it up, to not talk about it, shame about blood or pre-cum ejaculation or lack of sensation too much. Like we've been told it's a hands-off area. So, within your own bounds, just come to be aware of this vital part of your body, which for me is also another brain. There's a lot of sensations. When I think of a brain, I think of a nexus point of a lot of nerve endings, a place where there's a lot of sensation and a portal for experience. And I'm sure many of us sometimes have been led by this brain, or we've been traumatized and we've shrunken away because of this brain. And now I welcome you to come into a squatting position, as is possible for yourself, feeling like your knee and your hips are horizontally equal, and really feeling like you're opening out here. And we're going to do some squats. So just coming down, breathing in on the descent, and really feeling like you're opening up with the squat. Really feeling the music and the breath and movement. Sometimes I like to feel a cycle as well, like you're coming back on the descent and coming forward. So it's almost like you're coming back and then forward, thrusting forward, arching back, thrusting forward, arching back, thrusting forward. And I imagine like wheels on a train. You're really starting to activate your tailbone. You're opening your breath right down into your root. You're activating the strength of your base through your thighs. And just come into a sense of activation, but effortlessness. If you feel too much tension coming into your muscles, how can you allow that tension to rise up through your thighs and into your torso? How can you allow that root energy to come up into higher energy points? Soften your face, release the mind. Don't think about time. Please do work within your own physical limitations. I don't want you to strain anything, but strain comes from effort and clenching. So how can you soften and feel like these numbers dissolve into a state of now, and it just feels that effortless foreverness that you could just literally do squats all day. Good, we'll slow down. We're gonna descend into a squat and hold for 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Slowly coming up, activating, bringing your belly button in towards your spine. Breathing, softening the back of the head. If you feel any tingling, you might want to bring your head down. Don't want to pass out. Staying aware. Feeling your feet grounding down into the earth and feeling them slightly corkscrew into the ground. Feeling your toes and your heels and allowing your awareness to come up from your feet, up towards your root, through slightly supple knees, slightly bent, and coming into your belly. And we're going to do some fire breath. So in this case, when we breathe out, we bring our belly button in as we bring it back towards the spine. So on the exhale, I'm breathing out through the nose. If snot comes out, great. Use it as a time to clear out. Find your own rhythm as well. If I'm going too fast, slow down to something like but just get used to it so that on the exhale, just to repeat, the belly comes in. Good, now we're going to breathe in and hold. When you breathe in, imagine your breath is coming up through your spine, up towards the crown of your head, holding without tension in your throat or shoulders, and hold and soften and expand in the hold, and when you need to, exhale back to normal breath. feeling the expansion and the stillness. And when you're ready, take a few normal deep breaths. Softening your heart. Let's get really used to the idea of conducting your body's physiology. Even if you can't feel the connection to begin with, let your mind lead and imagine a soothing now of the heart, knowing that it wants to redistribute all this extra oxygen. And we're going to do that for a shorter time this time, and at the end we're going to exhale all our air and apply a yogic technique called Mula Bandh or root lock. You're going to exhale everything and suck up. Bring your belly button towards your spine. Bring the perineum upwards and towards the torso, and just see if you can get a sensation of that central nervous system tingle coming up your spine, bringing it up towards your heart, opening up like that tree reaching towards the sun. So breathing fire breath just for 10 seconds, exhaling at the end, and applying root lock. Go. Breathing out. Mula Bandh. In your own time, you can breathe again. And just feeling the stillness. Palms softly on your knees, facing upwards. And just feeling the gratitude of oxygen. Feeling the softening of your face. You might feel a bit of a sweat if you're starting to increase the body temperature through the chi movement, the life force. And I just want you to get a sense of how able that internal engine is that combusts a mixture of oxygen with food, with nerve endings. That is your core. Everything else beyond it is a gift. Taking a moment now to soften anything that might have had tension build up around it. Maybe shaking out shoulders, shaking out your hips. We're going to do some tapping now. So I'm going to tap down my legs here. Coming here with a twist as well. Doing a bit of a shakeout. Having any energy come away from the arms. Having some stretching here. Feeling your hips opening up. And now we're going to start to feel what it's like. I want us to start to roll around a little bit, feeling the smoothness of your body as it interfaces with the ground, being very aware of your neck safety, not wanting to hurt your spine, rolling along the sides where the muscles are. You just feel what feels graceful and elegant. But I want you to feel the way you can roll. And many of us, when we get to a certain age, fear falling over because we've lost connection with the ground. So I want to just gently acquaint ourselves with the play of floor play, just rolling around as intuitive. And how is it actually safe? How is it safe to roll on your side? Maybe clamber around on all fours. Maybe rolling over. And then finally, coming to rest when you are flat, either back or front, directly on the ground. And just feel what it's like to fully breathe down into the earth, what it's like to fully surrender and feel so held, what it's like to know the improbability of gravity, which somehow pins us to the earth, and think if you're lying facing up, in front of you is forever. In front of you is literally infinite expanse of sky and space. Like looking forward right now, that's what I'm looking at. That's who knows what? Venus, Pluto. It's not like there is some protective shell. It's a force of physics. It's gravity that keeps me from floating off into forever. And somehow it all holds together. Life is improbable, and that's part of the majesty of it. And as you breathe, I want you to feel like each breath is a chance to surrender even more. Each inhale, you soften, you trust the earth. All of the practices that I'm passing on today can definitely be explored further. You might want to allocate more time, but I just want to equip you with a bunch of different approaches to this connection. So breathing down and seeing if you can surrender even further and soften even further and see how blissful, how much pleasure. And I think that pleasure and pain are an interesting guidance system. It's a fundamental, rudimentary teacher. And when we let go, there's so much life. It's not inert. This is not just a passive experience. It's yin, it's soft, it's open, it's surrendered, but it's so active. There's so much life force and sensation. Feel it coming up into your face, down into your feet. And maybe just in your mind, trace out along your limbs and along all the space in your body. I hope you're feeling good. Just need a quick time check, 1 sec. All right, I'm back. So we've got about 5 more minutes. So what I might do, just enjoy lying there. I'm going to wrap up today, day 1 of 5, a free offering every day live here on my Facebook, just to reflect on what we've grounded into today and how it applies to what we're facing as a collective right now. So the intention from today was about shedding the armour. The intention today was about connecting into the fundamental parts of ourselves, like our elementary canal, breaking away some of the insulation and armour we may have felt we had to build up recently because of all of the attacks which have been going on in various forms. And I just want to reiterate the fact that we know already, and this process is just a process of remembering, and to be aware of apparent experts, leaders, gurus, whatever form people try to assume as control, and listen to lessons, invitations, mandates, or laws which try to separate us from our body, try to separate us from nature, and try to separate us from each other. That is not the path of health and safety. That is not the path of looking out for or trying to cultivate a healthy society. Whether it be through ignorance or malice, it is guiding us into lethargy, apathy, depression, sickness, mistrust, and all of the painful traumatic responses that come from that space. I'm here to say that life is on your side, that there are so many humans wanting to sit with you, to breathe with you, to hug. So many people calling for your genius and your offerings. So many opportunities in times of hardship to come back to our humanity, and human beings do thrive in emergency. We actually the best parts of us come out, our generosity, our bravery, our selflessness, our reflection on the true priorities. So if all of this time, whether it be through the pandemic or what's happening on the war front, if this has given you a new perspective, perhaps all of the hardship gone through in the northern rivers with the floods, I'm just naming the things that I know of. I know there's many others. If it's assisted you to surrender in some way and perhaps unburden yourself of addictions or things that you were reliant on and connect with the basic abundance of your life force, your dreams, your capacity, your community, your resourcefulness, what a gift. This is a hard time. I'm not trying to diminish that, but it's also an amazing time because we have been suckling on the teat of a restrictive, programmed culture based on industrialization, based on subjugation through idiocy of not educating people. This has been very directly done, whether it be through minorities or whether it be done through, preventing women from going to school or whatever it is. It's very instrumental and direct and intentional. And when we can face that, I'm not saying that the world is against us. I'm just saying that certain people at certain points of history have not held power responsibly. That's all. It's okay. It's okay. We're not in hell. We're just in a species which is in its adolescence and trying to work out how to live together and has perhaps advisably in the past worked through defense and tried to weaken the enemy so it didn't attack. But we've grown to a point where we know we are not the enemy. There is no particular political or national line which segments and separates people of opposites. It's humans, and we don't need to fight each other or defend from each other. We need to be wise and intelligent. But you know what it's like to care. And we're going to talk more about this in one of the later days, about innocence and simplicity. But my dear friends, the truth is simple. It's our unwillingness to face the truth that makes it complex. And I know it's overwhelming when we start to open our eyes and our senses and our bodies to what is here right now. But on the other side of that avoidance, which is painful, life is healing. And there's so much joy and pleasure and possibility. So thank you for your time today. I hope today has been some form of shedding of the armor and help you connect into your body. Feel free to leave comments here in the thread. I will come back to it to answer what I can. And also feel free to tag or share if you found it useful. It's a completely free gift from myself to the communities who have been ravaged by so many hardships in recent months. And it's what I can do to help. And I really hope that you do whatever you can too. And together we got this. Huge love. I'm Atlas Talisman. And this is a form of open world theater and a little slice of my life. Thank you for playing.